Hello and welcome to the 14th episode of the Meet the Entrepreneur podcast. This is ARTEEN ZAHIRI, and I'm the co-host of this feature along with HOOMAN DADKHO. Today we're speaking with Darren Lopez, the co-founder of Lion's Fuel, a provider of performance-enhancing nutrition and hacks that help you get in shape, stay in shape, recover faster, fight fatigue, and generally perform better.
Yeah, so Darren, maybe to start things off, would love to hear you just tell us a bit about your background and maybe introduce our audience to Lion's Fuel and what you're doing over there.
Well, you know what, my background in starting being an entrepreneur started way back when I was a younger kid. I was a three-sport athlete growing up, and I came home one day and said, "Dad, great news! I'm not going to play baseball anymore." And he says, "Great, son, you're now in the lawn mowing business." And so he went and bought 2 lawnmowers and got me like 20 lawns to mow. And he was less like, expecting me to run this business. And I'm like, man, that might've been that kind of backfired on me. But those business principles he taught me from mowing yards, about taking care of people, working with clients, making sure clients were satisfied. And I started realizing when you started seeing, you get into high school and you keep doing this stuff, and like other kids are making at that time $4 or $5, $6 an hour, and you're making upwards of $60 an hour mowing yards. You're sitting there saying, there's something to this owning a business type thing. So then, I went on and went to college, got my undergraduate in communications, transferred out of a business program because I was playing college football, got hurt, and started a strength and conditioning business. And some of the business leaders I was working with said, we got a lot of people that know how to talk about product. They know the technical side, but they can't communicate. They can't sell. They can't come up with arguments. So, change your major communications. So I did that, and then progressed recruited into a firm back in Virginia. But the typical corporate setting, I didn't like as much. So the first chance I had to get out and jump into a venture situation, I did. And then, you start cutting your teeth and gaining that experience. You start doing some things work, some things don't work. And I remember the first video series we launched. It went from where we were getting like 3-4 to 1 on ad spend. 9 months into it, we don't know, just something clicked, and we started getting a 400% and 500% to 1 return on our ad spend. And very diverse background, but to where I'm at now, for the past 15 years, I've been running a holdings company that I incubate new ideas with, kind of like a baby Shark Tank. And one of the ideas that we innovated was Lion's Fuel. And Lion's Fuel happened because I had some athletic kids, was also volunteering coaching, and I wanted to give kids an opportunity to get a performance advantage without turning to like anabolic steroids or different types of things. So we wanted to look at nutritional products. And then some of the elite clients that I was still working with, I was giving them to them, and they loved it. I'm sitting there saying, okay, this is pretty cool. So, and we just kind of continue to grow, innovate, and add new products. One of the big things I found with entrepreneurship is, you got to consistently be willing to pivot and innovate. And so, even though I know that Lion's Fuel is just one of my things, I've got 3 sets of companies we're working on right now, and it's hard prioritizing and juggling and making sure everything gets the attention it deserves.
No, that's great to hear. I really appreciate that insight. And a quick follow-up to that is, how would you say you divide your time among your kind of different endeavors? It's one of the many challenges of entrepreneurs like yourself. How do you, divvy up time to make sure you're giving appropriate allocation to each venture?
You know what? And that's a very great question. And what I've found is that I need to spend time every night. And I've got a real simple system that I sit down and I prioritize my goals. I've got 4 different projects that I'm working on, including my family. And I write down to-do things that I want to do. And I focus on, I don't kick myself in the butt if I don't get everything done on every list. But I try to get the most important thing done on multiple things, or even as I look through and say what everything needs to be done, then I go back through and say, okay, out of everything that needs to be done for these different entities, which one's the most important? And I try to make sure I get that one at least done. Kind of trying to follow the Earl Nightingale advice from Lead the Field, where he just says, that they had that productivity hack that the one time way back when the guy paid like $25,000 just for somebody to tell him, write down the 5 most important things that you need to do in a day, then work on number 1 till it's done, and then pay me what you think it's worth. And I guess the guy wrote him like a $25,000 check. So, it sounds simple, but I found it to be very effective. And my wife, it drives her crazy that I got a paper, a paper planner that I do my goals. I got my iPad Pro that I'm always writing down my to-do things. But you get done what you focus on.
Very nice. I have a question before we get into the other projects that you're working on. For Lion's Fuel, which one of your products was the most difficult to create?
That's a very good question. They all came out of necessity. I don't know that the fine-tuning the E3 was probably the hardest, because we wanted it to work across both genders, and we wanted it to work for elite as well as the amateur athletes. And sometimes, you do something for an elite athlete that, you give it to, a younger, or a college level athlete, or a weekend warrior, and it's just too strong. And with the E3, it's just amazing. It's one of those things like the old coach Vince Lombardi said, the person that gets tired first usually loses. E3 kind of helps you not get tired as fast.
Gotcha.
Fresh legs, you got fresher. So the weekend warrior that's playing pickup basketball, the competitive athlete, it just makes your system more efficient, where you don't get as tired. That lactic acid doesn't build up in the system, and you got that mental and physical energy. And it's one of the hardest things we've had is just being able to explain to people when they try it, they're like, man, I'm sold.
Which one of your products do you think has the most potential upside?
That, I think when people start looking at the diet fuel, because no matter what diet you're using, whether it's an intermittent fasting, a keto system, Weight Watchers, or anything, it has helped people lose weight, stick with their diets, become leaner, whether it's just somebody wanting to lose weight. And it's just something that we're looking to reposition it out there really hard in January with the weight loss season, because we're trying to hone the marketing message right now to where people can see that it's just not for the elite athlete, it's for anyone that wants to lose weight.
Gotcha. And to wrap up my questions on the products, which product do you think you're most proud of?
The Mental Edge.
Mental Edge. Gotcha.
Because it doesn't matter whether a businessman, and I know you got to be careful saying under 18 using supplements, but I've seen it with my own son. That he's a 3-sport athlete, he's a 4.0 student, he leads a couple groups, and he's stressed out of his mind. He's just and it calms him down, but it energizes him. He's gone to school at 7 a.m. Oftentimes not back home till 8:30 at night, and it just makes him feel good. And so I've just seen it in my own son's life. I've seen it in a bunch of other people's, lives from, business people, different people. We call it like one of our essential everyday type mental vitamins.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No, thank you. Great questions.
Awesome, Darren. Change the topic a little bit. I know you have some experience in coaching at different levels. I would love to hear a bit about your coaching experience, and if you've ever been able to take any skills or experiences you've gained from coaching and apply it to yourself as a businessman or an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. You know what? When like for instance, I coached at the junior high and the high school level basketball, just volunteered. I wouldn't let them pay me. It's just like, and in the junior high level, we ended up in the charter school. We won 9 region championships and a state championship. And it was just a and in the area, we weren't supposed to be the very, wasn't the elite athlete, but what I learned from that was that to get the most out of the kids in the shortest amount of time, to motivate them, to keep them fresh, and being able to translate that over into business is that, you know what, you're dealing with people that you want to keep them motivated. You don't want to just ride them until they're just burned out. You want to have them excited. And it's like people that work for me, work in different sales things, they say, well, can I have this time off to go see my kid do this play or do something? And I'm like, absolutely. You don't even have to ask. If you miss your kids or a big family event, it's your choice. It's not something we say. We want you as fresh and as excited and, you know, happy to be a part of the organization. So translate, you know, it's all about getting results. It's about setting, you know, looking at the thing. So I guess that coaching and working with some of the elite athletes, I learned that, you know, you got to handle them with kid gloves in ways, because, you know, they think, you know, like I worked with a world champion that was training, and, you know, sometimes they don't want to. You got to keep them excited, and those same principles that keep them excited, you want to keep your sales staff, your support staff, and, you know, we treat everybody from the office manager on down with, you know, we want them excited. We want them to figure out the best way to motivate them. It's like our office manager for our One AGELESS global set of companies that manages the Lions Fuel and some other things for us. She's a non-traditional. She didn't get a college degree, but we trained her. We trained her. We had our accountant. Our accountant guy has a weekly meeting with her, and she's turned out to be the biggest still that we've had. I mean, she's just creates just unbelievable things. So I think, you know, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but we didn't judge certain athletics performance. We let anybody win their position, and she, you know, we didn't judge her by not having a college degree. She came in and she just shined, and it's just like, you know what, we couldn't be happier with her.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Darren, you've had quite the illustrious career, and I've done, you know,
I've got knocked on my butt a few times.
That's actually what I was going to ask you. What do you think is or has been your biggest failure, and how did you overcome it?
You know what? I just believe that you never lose until you quit. And you know what? You know what? Even when you think you've lost on a project, you got to pivot. And there's been different times where you've had things that where doors shut, and I had $1 million caught in one opportunity, and it just killed me thinking I was going to lose this $1 million. And then the pandemic made us pivot. And because the pandemic made us pivot, and now coming out of the, you know, moving past, you know, through it and looking back now, I'm sitting there saying, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. It made me pivot in such a way that the opportunity is even bigger. And some of the technology we supposedly had caught in that, we were able to pivot just a little bit. That makes it much more attractive and makes it a bigger opportunity.
Gotcha.
And whenever I start feeling sorry for myself, I go back and look at Abe Lincoln and all of his little failures. And, you know, he never quit. You know, you got Edison, you got Colonel Sanders, you got all these guys that just, you know what, and you sit there just, no matter, you know, and I think you can learn a lot from failure. And that's one of the biggest things I think that's hurting the young and up and coming entrepreneurs, is that they're too afraid of failure.
Right.
And they're afraid that, you know, that there's some stigma that's going to be posted out on Instagram or Facebook that, you know what, ooh, they failed at this, they're a failure at life, that just hang it up. And that's not the, you know, and you got to have just that, you know, that opposite mindset of, you know what, good, you know what, I created a result, I didn't get the result I wanted, now I go on to the next result, I'm going to I'm going to get to where I need to be. And, you know, I'm not afraid what other people think, or if other people think I'm a failure, because I know I'm not a failure. I know I'm just creating results.
it's not about getting knocked down. It's about if you get up.
Exactly. You guys know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for the wise words, Darren. That's great to hear. And I guess, something to kind of bring it back to Lions Fuel, you're obviously very passionate about fitness and nutrition. What has it been like kind of getting in this industry? What are some of the challenges of working, in the whole supplement nutrition field? And how have you been able to navigate that, especially with COVID and regulations and everything?
It's such a crowded, loud space. It's trying to overcome, and you got people that are out there just making false claims, or that you put something out on social and they don't even try your product, but they're telling everybody why it won't work or why your system won't work. And you're just like, you know what? You can't be commenting on something until you try it. You got to try it and work it out. So I think the biggest thing is just not getting discouraged, and then finding your audience and finding, being able to continue to communicate and fine tuning your message to those people that'll listen, that'll try it. And then once you acquire that client, do everything you can to keep that client happy and moving forward and successful. And that's one thing that we've really separated ourselves with, is that when people try our products, they see a result. It's a result that they can afford. And, it's something that we want to have the lifetime value of a customer.
Gotcha. I'd like to ask you, business personality or books, which influence you the most?
That is impossible, both. I try to read at least, I shouldn't say read. I at least listen on Audible or different things about, try to listen to at least a book a week, sometimes 2 books a week.
Oh, that's great.
And then I also try to, listen to different personalities. Success leaves clues. You go look at Jeff Bezos right now, and you sit there and say, okay, what makes him so great? People say, oh, he's just this rich guy from Amazon. But, he was a guy that was originally just selling books on the internet. And he's just like, got to sell stuff. Oh, now we're selling books, let's sell other stuff. So he's sitting there just saying, okay, no matter how old I get or how far up the corporate ladder I get, I need to sell stuff. You need to be able to sell and be able to communicate value. And I value fighting for a client is so hard. There's a lot of people out there that don't mind just selling and tricking somebody to buy something. And instead of, you want to have that client have a positive experience, because you want them to buy from you over and over and over again. So, it's so I'm consistently trying to find out what makes people successful. It's like one of my favorite authors and business personalities is John Spolestra, that wrote Marketing Outrageously. Mark Cuban said it's the one book that he reads all the time. And he took, he took the Portland Trailblazers, made them a great success as far as the revenue team. And then he ended up going to the New Jersey Nets, and he says, we had a lousy product with the Nets. We sucked. And everybody's just like, we can't make money until we have a better product. And he says, yes, we can make money. We got to sell what we have.
Right.
And we got to make the people have a positive experience. He started having a White Castle night, a hamburger night, that people just loved, and had all these sellouts because the people felt like they were, even though their team wasn't winning, they had a great experience. They had a great entertainment.
Right. Great insight. Thank you. You touch on value. What's rewarding, or the most rewarding thing about the work you do?
I'm still seeing it on a day-by-day basis. I seeing people succeed at their goals. Right now, we've been one of the things, I've taken a personal interest in a client that he's 29 years old, and his son had cancer. He ended up gaining 200 pounds. And he just, he does not want to have the lap band, the surgery. We've started him on the Lions Fuel weight loss program. And the first month, he's lost 34 pounds.
That's great.
And so the thing is that, and you're seeing that his confidence has just started to grow. And he's just like, he's starting to feel energetic. He's sitting there saying, you know what? I'm going on a walk every night with my 3-year-old son. And he's just like, I'm feeling good. And and it's just like, I checked in with him before I got on with you guys. And he's just like, I'm down another 4 pounds. And
There
it says,
we
I'm
go.
feeling great, you know. And some people say, well, you know what, he's still over 400 pounds. But you know what? He won't be by this time next week. He'll be in the 300s. And the thing is he'll continue to go, and he's feeling better.
Step by step.
Yeah. And that's just one success story. I mean, I got stories with, you know, seeing my daughter go from an average high school athlete to being a college level goalie, to where she played a year of semi-pro right in the middle of the pandemic, you know, and just through hard work and, you know, having those little nutritional advantages. She would take E3 before her soccer match. She'd take it at halftime. And it was just like, she started getting this reputation as a machine that never got tired. They're like, why don't you get tired? And she's just
Right.
like, I'm just, you know, and she, you know, we'd be giggling. She says, like, Dad, I don't want anybody else that I play against to take E3 because I like having the advantage. She says, so can you sell it to other people other than this? So I was like, okay, we'll keep it quiet.
There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, it's like it says on the website. You know, these are real people, real results. You know, these success stories are awesome. I'm curious with your sales strategy. Have you ever kind of explored? Do you typically sell directly to consumers? Have you ever explored, you know, like sponsoring a team or a league as like an exclusive supplier? Has that ever come up?
Well, you know what? They've just changed the rules for colleges, and what we're going to do is that's part of Lions Fuel's. You just hit on a strategy. We've sponsored a couple of junior college teams.
Great.
And we're gonna start going after some of the smaller teams and some of the programs that don't get, like girls soccer, like some of the lower, you know, some of the sports, like you got the footballs and the basketballs that get all the money. We're gonna, you know, look at we've done some stuff with lacrosse.
Oh, great.
That's a great strategy to kind of identify those, you know, because, you know, the footballs and the basketballs have so much, you know, people going after them already. To kind of identify those underserved ones should be very good.
You guys are definitely know what you're doing, because you just we've been refining that strategy, and it's set for we've kind of tested it on a few programs. We're going to roll it out in a much bigger way the first of 2022.
Oh, great.
Gotcha.
But thank you for the reassurance and the advice.
Yeah, I know.
Darren, thank you so much. Those are all the questions that I have. Thank you for taking the time.
You know what, guys, I can't, you know what, would you please let Genevieve know where we can ship you guys? I'd like to get you guys some products.
Thank you so much.
You know, some of the different things. And, you know, we've just launched a new sleep project that we're going to do, a joint venture. We're going to have a Lions Fuel sleep challenge to try to get people sleeping 7 hours a night. And between the Lions Fuel Muscle Refresh and the sleep, that where we kind of got an exciting, you know, challenge. But we'd like to get you guys some products to try, and got to keep you guys healthy. You guys got to keep spreading the good word and keep the next generation of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
It's the backbone of, you know, what I think the economy is built on. And it's great to see guys like yourself out there, you know, young guys pitching the story.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
ARTEEN, do you have any more questions?
I was just gonna, you know, before we wrap it up, Darren, is there anything you want to leave our audience with? You know, other words of wisdoms or something to kind of touch on, you know, your next steps, what's next for you, something to kind of wrap up this conversation nicely with?
Well, I think the main thing is I'm never going to be satisfied. I just turned 53 this year. And you know what? I've had certain success that people say, boy, that's great, but you can't get, I'm looking for the word here. You can't grow content. You can't say, you know what? I've read enough books. You know what? I've gotten enough shape. You know, I looked at it and I didn't like the way I looked in July. I've personally lost 30 pounds since July. I went from a 36-inch waist to a 32-inch waist, and just using the Lions Fuel system. And you're sitting there saying, and people are saying, why do you need to do that? You know what? You've been a college level athlete. You've been a lead athlete. You know, why? Well, you know what? Because I want to be a healthy 53-year-old. I want to be a healthy 72-year-old eventually down the road. So the thing is never be satisfied. Don't beat yourself up. Use the Ted Lasso analogy of have a mind like a goldfish when things go wrong. Forget it in 10 seconds. and then just be tenacious about, just going forward and, setting goals for yourself. And you know what, if you miss them, so what, go and try to hit them again.